not so much as a decision. I feel like we've always are looking to expand.
Sure.
And I feel like Mumbai was in the works for a few years, but unfortunately with COVID, it got stopped. But going into a different country, going to new territory, there are always a lot of red tape, especially going internationally, because every country have different laws. So it took a few years from when we first started discussing going into Asia, and we finally made it a reality. I would love to have at least one in every continent.
That'd be cool.
I mean, it would be so great to be able to get into Australia.
That would be cool.
Yeah, I knew that for many years Australia had Big Day Out, Soundwave, Splendor in the Park, but all those have really, it got too convoluted, the market. So I feel like maybe now is a good time. I remember when Big Day Out went away and we merged with them, there was a moment where Big Day Out was supposed to be a Lolla, and it just never quite got off the ground, right? So, but world domination, who doesn't want world domination? But with love and spreading love and music, it's good. What I understand is that someone told me in India there are two religions, Bollywood and crickets. So I feel like going into international territories, we always want to be very respectful and honoring of the local cultures. Of course, you want to bring in American bands, which is a big draw of Lollapalooza International.
Of course.
But at the same time, you want to honor the culture and the musicians. So I want to say that with LollaIndia, it would be 60-70% majority Indian and local artists.
Wow, okay.
And I would love to bring in not just the Bollywood pop, but I would like to have the more cultural, tribal stuff coming in as well. And I heard that they just sworn in their first tribal president in India this week.
Wow.
So, so I would say that with India, we'll probably fill it with more Indian artists and just really juxtapose the two together. I would love to have that maybe as like an official, building up, follow Lollapalooza around, building it up as the official party, bringing in not only cabaret, like more obscure artists, but bring in some mainstream artists to headline and anchor the event. And I think it would be wonderful because Heaven After Dark is such a different premise from Lolla that we have a lot more freedom and options to include things that may not be right for a Lollapalooza audience.
There's almost a vaudevillian aspect to it that's not really Lolla. Exactly.
And how wonderful was it that back then you don't just have musical acts, you have dancers, you have artists, comedians, you know.
Performance artists.
Exactly. And they also need love and light, and it's an art form that should be celebrated as well.
As far as the imprint label, then what are your plans for how you're going to release music with that? I mean, is there a certain aesthetic you're going for in terms of, or certain genres you're going for in terms of that, or are you just going to kind of see what comes along?
Hi.
Just want to give you
Perry, hey.
Hi. Actually, this is a good question for you.
So
sit in for this one real quick.
Okay, real quick. Go ahead. Oh, I just want to tell you, you know that your single's doing really well.
I heard. We haven't gotten to that yet.
Like
we're up
all
to
the major DJs in Europe, all throughout Europe, put you into their rotation.
But this is something for you to answer.
Okay.
Your record label.
Yeah.
Okay, ask the question. Because this is more of his answer.
What are you kind of planning to do with it?
Etty's my first release.
I know. And it's great.
What are we planning on doing with it?
Yeah, I mean, are you certain genres you're going for, or certain,
It's going to be, listen, music is like medicine, right? It heals the world. So, I mean, we're not going to stick with one medicine, but we're definitely medicinal. Does that answer the question?
That's beautiful.
Yeah. It's only going to be stuff that is...
eating what we gave him?
The truth. The truth is what makes it so transcendental. We're not sticking only with dance, but dance is very important. So what I like to do is I like to start out always organic, analog, and that's the first thing. And then from there you start to remix.
Right.
If we're going to start with electronics, it still has to have live PA.
Sure.
It always has to have the live soul,
Right.
spirit.
Definitely.
Otherwise, it's like a potato chip. It's
Cool.
not. It's not really. It doesn't really absorb. You know. It's
Right.
not really that what you need. So. there you
Beautiful.
go.
Thank you.
So your record label is going to be potato chips.
No.
It's going to avoid potato
It's
chippery.
going to avoid potato chips. It's going to be only things that feed the soul. Feed
Got
the
it.
soul.
Got
There
it.
you go.
There you go.
I love you.
From the man
Where
himself.
where you off to?
Right here, I'm going to do.
Oh,
talk.
okay.
Thank you,
Got
man.
it. Got it.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
He answered that question better than I could.
It was
have
beautiful.
answered.
It was a perfect compliment. Yeah.
I would not have used the potato chip
See,
example.
You can use it now. See,
Exactly.
now you have it.
Exactly.
And you
Now
can
I
pretend
know.
that you-
Right now, I think we just did our second installment in Los Angeles with Porno for Pyros. So I would love to do the next installment with Jane's Addiction, keeping it kind of tight. And what we do is kind of have an orchestra, aside from the band that anchors it. We want to bring in the up-and-coming young bands. I feel like, you know, as music is evolving, in the past few years, I feel like the world has lost touch a bit with, like he said, the analog music. Everything is very hip-hop, and there is still a big group of us that love rock and roll, that would love to see it come back. So I feel like with Heaven After Dark, aside from bringing the cultural artists and the performing artists, we also want to reintroduce the young up-and-coming bands that's going to dominate in 5 years. They're going to make a comeback. Yes.
It's a good call.
Yes. Dylan,
It's a good sign.
Harry Nilsson, Cottonmouth Kings, Gypsies, all the older, like the really authentic artists. So they are getting their influence from that. So they're both writing music.
Very cool.
Hezi is doing bass and guitar. Isidore unfortunately had a bit of an accident with a skateboard and he severed a bunch of nerves. So his hands are not as agile. So he's picking up the sax, the trumpet,
Cool.
one hand, easier
Wow.
stuff. Yes.
Nice.
So hopefully they will, without us pressing too much.
That was it, yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say, how much influence is coming from you? Is there any pressure that came from you? Is it just happening
Zero.
organic?
We, you know, Perry, you know, we're sitting around and they would come in on all hours of night, 3 a.m. I just wrote a song. I wrote a riff. And so Perry would
Let's
say, great, this is a great start. Now start writing poetry. Don't have to think about music, just write.
Yep.
And now put them together. So they're learning songwriting and building in a very organic, but also a self-seeking manner. Instead of us saying, well, this is what you need to do, we let them develop.
That's the way to do it. You don't
Yeah.
want to lock yourself into a structure so much that it becomes
Exactly.
just boxes you're checking.
But structure have worked great for a lot of
sure,
bands, like
sure.
the Peppers. I mean, they are
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
jamming them out, you know what I mean? So it does work, but it just depends on what kind of
Differently for
artist you
everyone.
want to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't feel that they want to be I don't think they want necessarily the fame. They just
Sure.
want to make art. You know, my son,
That's awesome.
the older one, actually said to me, he goes, you know, my goal, my dream is to have a house where musicians and artists can just play. And I said, that's such a great idea, but and I said, that's a great idea, but you kind of need a license. I mean, there are many things that he's not thinking about if he wants to build it up. But I love where he's coming from.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
don't want this.
Right.
I want a house where people can just come and crash and
the
play
thing,
and
yeah.
share ideas.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Very cool.